And we're live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Hopefully you can hear me. I have a good friend, John of Pro Craps.
How you doing?
And he is a podcaster as well.
Maybe yeah.
A little bit. He's got a morning coffee thing where you guys talk craps and strategies and different strategies. Not the same. More about a lot of the intellectual stuff, no?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah, I've kind of gone off the strategy thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm so much more, I hate to say I'm a math guy now.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I've
you're
crossed
that
over
guy?
to, no, I'm not that guy.
Guess how many players care about the math, dude?
Zero.
A smaller
Zero.
percentage.
The thing of it is what I've learned over the years is like you can't beat the game, obviously, right? So it's like you're going to take what you can take and play this or that and that.
Yeah.
It doesn't freaking matter. You're going to lose when you lose and you win when you win.
There you go.
I just want us to have fun doing it and know what's coming.
There you go.
Like be able to dodge the bullet.
I like to know when it's coming too, sir.
Yeah.
I like to plan for that.
There you go. See,
I
teed that right up and you just knocked it out of the park right there.
Perfect.
So,
the more
like
coming,
the
the better. That's kind of thing. All right. Well,
God.
we are going to kind of go back in time. John has prepared. We are setting this up for potentially doing interviews with some friends, people in the business, kind of longer term. And John is here investigating the comings and goings. Did you see that? More comings and goings of Casino Quest, CED Dealer School. We're in a very pivotal transitional stage. So let me get the ads out the way. You ready? Here's one ad. We have an event August 24th. It's going to take place at Casino Training Center. If you want tickets, which they're now becoming much more popular since I posted the LinkedIn stuff like this, go to casinoquest.biz. That's number one. If you're interested in learning craps, besides going to a school, of course, start on crapsy.com. Crapsy.com, they have a free trial. Most of us in the community now use it. You can work out all sorts of strategies. It's a fantastic way to learn dice and learn the presses. They have a free version and a paid version. The paid version is all of $5 a month, so not a huge investment. They even have a discount if you buy yearly subscriptions. So crapsy.com. And I think that's it. That's all I got. Is that it? That's it. All right, let's move on to the good stuff.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah. On the Crapsy note,
On the Crapsy.
a lot of us are doing live Crapsy every day.
Yeah,
you can find live Crapsy every day. Guys like me throwing the dice, logging it in, playing against real people.
Yeah, so you can
great.
join their tables. They have live tables that you can participate actually and get feedback. They have a chat feature. It's like Zoom with craps. It's all built in actually. So if you want to talk to John or a lot of people that host table, you can literally be part of that action.
100%.
You're right. I mean, it's
great.
pretty fun. By the way, I've seen a lot of that, which is I kind of troll all of you guys' channels because you'll stream it sometimes live onto you. Some of them will stream it on YouTube while they're playing, right?
Yeah,
and they're hosting the channel. Is that what you do?
That's what it. Yep.
Yeah, and it's fantastic because you can learn a lot about crafts. Really good. But anyways, all right, let's get to the good stuff. So the good stuff is, well, maybe the good stuff. So I broke into the business in 1991, and instead of me ranting on a weekly basis, I thought I would share with you kind of the adventure. But first, John has a couple of questions. So 1991 I started. Go ahead. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Literally, that's my question. Right?
Okay.
So 1991.
Yes.
I can tell you where I was.
Okay.
I just moved to Seattle. I moved to Seattle in 91. I had hair.
Oh, you had hair.
I got pictures to prove it. I had hair
really?
down on my pants.
Oh,
I was
really?
playing in a thrash metal band back then. You were out here cutting your teeth as a dealer.
No, I was cutting. I had
shredding.
hair too, by the way. There was a moment.
Shit happens.
Yeah, no,
right, over
for
55
sure.
years.
Yeah, 100%.
But you're like our superhero, right?
Oh, God.
So, right? Got the guns. What's the origin story? That's what I want to get to. Like David's origin story as a dealer.
As a dealer?
Yeah.
So
This is a funny one.
I mean, where should I start? All right, so realistically, I broke down on the highway. So coming into Vegas, I broke down the highway, and I say my wife, but my girlfriend, we were sort of common law. We'd been together a while. We had a child, and the goal wasn't actually to stay in Vegas. It was I famously saw the Mirage being built in '89 as part of a convoy. I was on a military convoy. You could see it in the distance. It was fantastic. This glintering thing, and it was sometime in the middle of '89. It was being built up, and you can see it off the highway. And I was driving a deuce and a half, which I did very poorly, just so you know. So I was like filling in for some dude, and it was just not the easiest thing. And so I remember seeing Vegas, and it always was in the back of my head, but I didn't know anything about gambling. Like I had never. That's not true. That's actually not true because I had been to I'd been to Atlantic City. So like you, I grew up on the East Coast a little bit. I had interacted with Atlantic City on a limited basis, but I had no real designs to be a crap dealer. I had only interacted with the blackjack game prior to this. I was underage.
As most people,
I was 17 years old, dude. They gave you a free roll of quarters
Nobody's
and a
listening,
bus.
it's fine.
And and a bus. That's probably true. And a bus ride from Philly right to Atlantic City. Remember that?
With $10 and a lunch.
$10 and literally, I was literally I had nothing else to do that day. Let me get this
You
right.
and all the old ladies. I remember.
Dude, I was on that bus. I might have been on that bus with your old lady. You know what I mean? It could have been.
My grandma.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Your grandma. Yeah, no.
Awesome.
We're the same age, dude. I don't know about your grandma. But so up until then, I had no designs of being a dealer. I had no idea. I had no passion. I had no passion. There were some things I had passion for. I didn't have any idea what the hell I wanted to do. That's the thing. I knew I was fairly intelligent and I was capable, but I had no designs to be a dealer. I kid you not. So later on.
So you break down, right? You're still in the military
So
then?
no, this is after the military.
Okay.
So there's this whole thing where I was homeless and I transitioned through Scientology, and I then was homeless, and then I meet my wife at the time, and we're homeless. It was difficult, let me tell you, when you meet somebody and you're in that situation, and then to make it worse, I would say I can't say to make it worse, but she gets pregnant. So we're living at the Venice King. If you guys have ever seen this place, it is a shithole on the whole. Are we 30 seconds in? Anyways, it is really not the nicest place.
You always ask that like 5 minutes in.
I know. So we're at the Venice King, and it is literally this sort of drug infested. We're just hiding out. We're living day to day,
Right.
and ultimately we decide, she's pregnant. We're gonna have to get out, and we move to Garden City, Kansas. And so, by the way, I know I shared this story, but the humanity came alive at that Venice King. So everyone knew that we were young. We were homeless. I mean, we lived in this motel. And we were there for a Thanksgiving, and whatever Thanksgiving that year was, and people lined up at our door. We opened the door, and it wasn't the kind of place. This is on Venice Boulevard, heading out to like Santa Monica. It is literally, even to this day, it's a nasty ass hotel, right? It's not. It's a motel. And it is this time in the morning, and people lining up to give us Thanksgiving. It was crazy, knocking on the door. We thought we were about to be like raided or some drug. Anyways, so we go to Garden City, have this whole thing, and then she's a little crazy, and we're driving, and we're supposed to be going back to LA from Garden City, Kansas. Right. We'll have to have that story another time. It's a bit long. But we break down, and lo and behold, her grandmother lives in Vegas, actually up by where the Santa Fe is now, where Santa Fe Station is now. And so we this is back before cell phones. One of us has to go walk to the payphone, which guess who that was. And so we walk to the payphone, grandmother comes out and picks us up. We leave the car there, and next thing you know, we're living in her grandmother's place. So her grandmother's place was about 9 miles from downtown. And to get out of the house one time, I finally had some money, about $100. I bought this cheap-ass bike, and it wasn't a 10-speed, it was a no-speed.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like a little no-speed.
So you're working.
Yeah, working. And I would bike the 9 miles downtown, or however far it was. Rancho and Craig, dude. It was crazy. I've shown him one of the famous places where I broke down at this bar. And all these people came out. It was the middle of the summer, and I broke down, and they had a flat tire on the helmet. But anyways, so I drive this bike downtown, and I tie it up. I've got nothing to do. I'm just hanging out, and I walk into this. It's not Sassy Sally's. It's a Glitter Gulch, the one that was Bob's Toothpick. So it became the whole thing is a Glitter Gulch. But there was this Glitter Gulch little slot parlor. It was Glitter Gulch by Bob's Toothpick, and all the girls would have the carousels, and you could play a little money. And I had like $20 extra, which for me it was a lot. But I was going to spend some money. I had to get unwind a little bit. So I go in there. I spend $20, and I win $200. That's it, $200. And of course the girls are trying to work me over to keep me to stay and play some more and lose my money back. And famously, I decided to kind of walk down the rest of the street. I'd never been to Las Vegas before. I'm downtown. I might have grabbed something to eat, and I run into this woman who is handing out a brochure, asking if you're interested in becoming a dealer.
One of these?
Like literally, no, not one of those, but it was like a full size.
Sure.
They hadn't perfected that whole. If you come to Vegas, what he's talking about is
what I'm talking about.
is what do they call this? Not the fappers, but the flat. You know what I mean? Because that reads something else, dude. Is the little the tabbers. You know what I mean? What is it called? They call snappers. They call them snappers. They just snap these little coupon things, make a lot of noise, and they try to push one off on you.
Yeah.
They have them all up and down the strip. But anyway, so this lady is just standing, she's talking, hey, would you like to be a dealer? And I'm like, really? How could I be a dealer? So she finds out. She asked me my background. She finds out that I'm a vet. I'm a honorably discharged vet. And she's like, yeah, if you're a vet, it's free. It's not free. You get this grant. They get this Pell Grant, and you go through the student loan thing. But I'm like, sure, sign me up. She walks me down. Next thing you know, I'm signed up for 3 classes at this school, literally on 3rd and Ogden, downtown, just in the same day. You know what I mean?
So your story, I met some of your students,
Yeah.
right, which was cool.
Yeah.
And everybody's got this different story, right? Like some people are like me, I'm about to not retire, but at some point, my end game is let me deal and have some fun and be social.
Yep.
Some people are like, I've always wanted to be a dealer. Some people it's their first job. Some people are like in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And like all I can do is deal, and and that's you. Like you didn't come here to be a dealer.
I didn't have a job, nothing.
Your freaking car broke down.
Literally.
And you got a flyer at random, and you're like, what the hell? Let me just do it. And then all this gets born from that, right? What a cool first day.
Yeah, it was. I'll be honest with you. So I started at the school, and school sucked. And right away, I was like, man, I've been totally scammed. I've absolutely been scammed. You walk in there, it was a really small space, very tight. There's a lot of people. And back then, there were only 2 jobs. You had to start one of 2 jobs. Like, there were only 2 places to go. And all the stories about these 2 jobs also sucked. And because they sucked because there were no other options. Like, they had these, they would vary, the supervisors sucked and they hazed you, and the players, this was not bad. This is not now.
Right.
So now it's different. The El Cortez and the Golden Gate, those were the 2 jobs you started at back when I was breaking in. There were a few like lesser places, but you had to like kind of live in those communities. There was still Jerry's Nuggets, Silver Nugget, places like this, but you lived there and then you worked there, right? If you came from any of these downtown schools, you just started there. There were no options to start. Actually, that's not true. You could start in a strip, but a lot of those jobs were like you could start at Little Caesars. They had the gift shop. They had the 2 in the gift shop. There were other places that you could start at. Silver City was still a thing. But anyway, but it just sucked. All the
stories
stories
sucked. Is it a separate
sucked.
school, or is it a school? It was part of a casino.
No, it was a separate school. Okay. It was their own school. By the way, the owners of this school, one of these days I'll share a story for them because they ended up selling the school, opening an actual casino in Louisiana, and I ran into them many years later. And let's just say that was a crazy thing. But yeah, I started at that school.
No kidding.
$3,000, dude.
What?
For 3 games.
In 1991?
1991.
Good gravy.
So we charge $500.
I was going to say.
Our prices are going up when we move to our new school, just so you know. But yeah.
Holy crap. Now, was that because it was a grant and it was like, or was that like,
yeah,
I walk in and pay the same thing?
There's a school out here that charges $10,000 for a suite of like 5 classes.
I remember you saying that at one point.
Because they do so because they know that they can just max all the student loan stuff. You follow?
Yeah, 100%.
It makes 0 difference. Actually, it makes a lot of difference because this same school, I will put our training for $600 up against their training for $10,000. Not only will I train you better, but I'll probably get you a better job.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here. I teach computer programming at a school, and we are one of a few that take the GI Bill for vets, right? A lot of schools claim to, or they have these grant monies, but they
jack up the prices
twice as much as us
so
because they know they can
max it out.
They can just take that government,
Right. By the way, it's very disappointing for vets because they take away from the many because the GI Bill will provide them with extra money for their day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
And if they max it out, then there's not a lot of money left over.
So there's new programs now, though. Just so you know. Yeah. The GI Bill covers your education plus your cost of living.
Okay.
There's all kind of restrictions to it. Now there's new programs where they will cover more, but there's all sorts of like job guarantees and other stuff goes along with that.
By the way,
for vets, they're getting better.
We're tied into the TAP program. We've actually acquired some vets who have used TAP. So TAP is a program where if you're leaving a fort, the fort will pay like $1,000 to help you transition to get you some part-time work or help you if you need some kind of trade school type of thing. And so we've had what's his name that's gone to it? Patrick? What's his name?
You gotta be more specific.
The guy that used TAP. He worked for us for a little while. God, it's been so long. If he's watching, I'm sorry. Paul. So Paul used TAP, and we have had 2 other people now who have started that process.
Is that a trade school specific program?
I don't know if it's trade school. It's basically here's $1,000 if you use it towards like getting some kind of job.
Sure.
Whether it's licensing, a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know what all the requirements are, but you have to go to a certified school. It has to be for some kind of trade or something like this.
Sure.
And I've read through it. it's great. I mean, and for us, we're for less than $1,000, you can come to us, and that's all you need.
That's awesome. I didn't know that was a thing, because the one I'm talking about is called Vet Tech. It's only for tech.
It's only for tech.
But sounds like it might be a trade. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I don't know what TAP stands for, but it's the TAP program. So if you're at a Fort Ready, if you're shortlisted and you're on your way out, if you're a short timer, ask about TAP.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there for the vets, but.
Now there is.
Probably back then there wasn't.
No,
but now
nothing.
So that's cool you got into that thing. Anyway, so you have this 3,000 hour program you get into the school, and in your mind today it sucks compared to.
Yeah.
In those days, was that known,
was competitive?
Or it was
that was. I mean, it was $1,000 a class.
So what did you learn? You learned.
I learned blackjack, roulette, and craps.
Okay, really? Okay.
I started with blackjack, roulette, and then I was ushered out the door. And asked to audition before I was ready. Now, here's an interesting thing. So before I get to work at this, I go to work for the Westward Ho, doing change. That was technically my first casino I worked at. I still have the badges. I meant to pick them up from my other office.
That would be cool.
I have all the badges from Westward Ho, Goldie Gate, Rio, many of the casinos I worked at. I always kept those. And so I went to work at the Westward Ho, which, if you don't know, is by Circus. So if you're facing Circus, it's on the right side. Yeah. And it's one of the buildings that they've taken over since then. And that used to be the Westward Ho. And why it was called the Westward Ho, I mean, it can only be, can you imagine?
No, I can imagine.
That's the first casino I worked at, yes, Westward Ho. I was born in '69, and the first casino I worked at was the Westward Ho. I still got you.
It's a match made in heaven.
It's literally perfect. So I was a change boy.
Right.
And and one of the reasons why I both started enjoying, I would see the dealers. So I was making zero other money. There wasn't a lot of, I was just poor, dirt poor. At least his family was dirt. Everybody was, they weren't dirt poor, but I would see the dealers bring their big bucket of silver up. They collected silver. This is back in the day when they still had silver on the table. When I say silver, like the dollars, silver dollars, yeah. They used them. Can you imagine on a blackjack table using silver? Those dealers of yours back in the day, man, it can only, oh my, your fingers were just they're not just black, but strong, dude, strong. Sure. And so I would see them counting all the money, and I was like, wow, that's some money right there. I didn't know that it wasn't a lot of money, honestly, because that job they didn't do very well. But it was my first introduction to gamblers. And I have to say, I had my reservations at that time, because I would always be stiffed. As friendly as I was overtly friendly. I didn't go out of my, but it's just like, a lot of the gamblers that went into that establishment sucked. You know what I mean? So here I am. I'm at school. Like I'm not graduating. I've only through blackjack and roulette, and they tell me to audition. They literally be like, listen, you need to go audition, and get a job. And I'm like, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm too young. I'm too immature. Right. I haven't learned anything. And that's the next. Do you have any? What do you have?
I got an audition question actually.
Okay, good.
Because today's audition process is actually different than I thought it was.
Yes.
I thought it was like done in the back room and like with fake money, and they were seeing how you do. I didn't know they put you out there in front of live people.
So that depends on the casino.
Okay.
No, so that totally depends on the casino. There are some high limit. So if you go to like the Bellagio and some of these bigger places, they will have an audition room. They don't put you on the floor.
Okay.
Some of them might put you on the floor to see what kind of presence you have, what kind of engagement you have. But there are, so all the break-in places, they just want to see you interact with customers. They don't really have a back room. You know what I mean? But there are some places that have like a training room and they fire off some big bets. I mean, if you go in for an audition during the day, you might not see the kind of action they want you to prepare for. Sure. You follow? So like they're gonna stack it up, they're gonna lay out some big stuff, and you gotta go in there, and in some cases it's more nerve-wracking because they're gonna throw some real
wackiness
stuff.
Is coming, right?
Yeah,
it's coming.
100%. Right? They want to show you this stuff that, everyone can deal. Listen, you know enough about roulette to pay one bet on this 10. You know what I'm saying? You can on a crap table, if someone gave you a $6 each, 6 and 8, you could probably deal that all day long. You follow? That's not the hard part. Is now you got 8 people laying, don't pass, we're order of operations. The game builds. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so those are the circumstances you would have to pass an audition. So that definitely. Now I will say this, because of our relationship with some of the casinos, we often will. You can actually do an assessment at our school, and just hired. they'll take our word for it.
I actually watched one yesterday.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
You pass the assessment, you're hired, dude. Becky, we have a few people that are responsible for those assessments, but she's a higher bar in many cases, and it's a consistent bar. You know that if the person went through Becky or Lauren, they are ready for, to break in.
Yeah, there's no BS with Lauren.
With me, there are very few people that pass I have 2 tests for dice. One is you can just manage a game and break in. The other is the David test. The David test is a whole different test. You get a T-shirt for the David test. You know what I'm saying? The other one doesn't. You still get a certificate and you pass, but you don't get the T-shirt, dude. You don't get to say that you graduated from my class. Yeah, 100%. Everybody wants that.
So the break-in process back then? Now, again, we're talking about Vegas without the roof over Fremont Street. We're talking about the Mirage being really cool.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well,
Mirage is a big
deal
now. Yeah, it's gone now.
So we're mobbed up a little bit back then, right? So is the process different? Like, is it like
100% different?
I'm picturing like the game protection being different with the mob in charge versus now. Like, what is that like? The
vibe was very much dummy up and deal. So back then, you really had mechanics were key. You had to be able to show up at the game, and it was very specific because first of all, they would hit you. They would smack your shoes. They would talk. Really? They would talk shit to you. They would interact with you in ways that you can't do that.
As part of the audition or as part of the job?
Oh, and both. I mean, you know what I mean. It was like I've been punched by a supervisor on a table, kidney punch. Not hard, mind you, but still. Anyone put your hands on you now, you got a lawsuit. You might own the place. You know what I'm saying? Back then, Guido would come up to you and talk shit about your mother, and you just had to suck it up. You know what I mean? Like, they would sweat money. They would do things that you would not get away with.
They'd sweat money, but you were saying earlier, like they also took action. That everything today is corporate regulated. There's everything's
policies
in here.
and guidelines.
That's where the house hedge and all that kind of crap comes along. Those days, it was a whole different ballgame.
No, it was a whole different ballgame. Yeah.
So what did it feel like to deal that versus now?
Oh, it's a whole different thing. So like now they want you to talk, they want you to interact with the customer, they want you to engage. It's like personality driven. And it's a much more casual. People know that you can only, there's this process to getting fired in most cases. Like there are still some bad actors in the casino business, I will tell you. But most of the casinos have this peer group and there's there's HR, there's appeals, and you just can't get ushered off the floor at a whim. You follow? Like back then, you could get hired in a second. They didn't like you. They didn't like how you looked. They didn't like how you. I have been chastised and nearly written up for literally averting my eyes and looking at a certain supervisor, like a supervisor, not even like a. You know what I mean? Like normally in a normal situation, you avert your eyes. Who gives a shit? I'm looking at you accidentally, and that was the case. Yeah. And this supervisor comes up and asks me if I was effing him. You know what I mean? He's like, you want off the game? No, seriously, like that was the thing back then. No one would ever do that today and get away with it. You follow? And there was a lot of that. But so when I auditioned, so I was given the choice of the El Cortez or Golden Gate. I was literally told, go to the El Cortez or Golden Gate. And originally, I was going to go to the El Cortez because I heard that it was mandatory. So think about, I'm not too distant from the military. And I was used to very kind of more structured. Yeah. And I heard that the El Cortez is very structured, even though I heard that they hazed some of the starting dealers. It wasn't the cleanest place. I had been in there. It was kind of dirty. They were both dirty. The Golden Gate and the El Cortez are both dirty, dude. The Golden Gate, by the way, now is a beautiful, award-winning, and architectural thing. They've done great things with it. There's no doubt about it. But back then, it was a shithole. You know what I'm saying? It really was a shithole. And the El Cortez was too, dude. The thing about the El Cortez, the nice bouncy carpet, you know what I mean? There was a lot of things that stood out besides the disgusting smell and some of the patrons and stuff like this. So I interacted with someone, because you know me a little bit now, so you can believe this. So I'm walking out onto Fremont Street, and to the left is the El Cortez. I could see it right down with the sign, and to the right is the Golden Gate, right? And I have no idea what the hell I should do. I'm literally in this quandary of where do I go, And I see this woman, and I say to her, hey, if you could work at the El Cortez or the Golden Gate, where would you work? And she stopped, and she's like, yeah. I would go with the Golden Gate. I like to play. It's cleaner. It feels more, you know what I mean? And so there I went. That was the reason why I ended up taking a ride.
Random person on the street.
Just 100% random person just walking up Fremont. And a tourist, too. I don't even think she lived there. She was like a tourist. I like playing at the Golden Gate. So I'm like, screw it, let me go to the Golden Gate. And I went there fully expecting to fail because I wasn't very confident. First of all, I really didn't like dealing blackjack. I felt like it was a bit, and roulette, less. Roulette really, I had just started learning craps and I was loving like the hands and
Sure,
the things
sure.
associated with the crap table. So I go up to the Golden Gate. I walk in. I meet this guy. He's this 5 foot tall Italian dude. Sal Bruno, his name is. And just the fact that I remember him.
Uncle Sal. Yep.
Just absolute Guido, but Sal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And all the persona and right away just gruff and just everything you'd expect
Sure.
from a boss back in the day. And just ridiculously, I wouldn't say ridiculously, you know what I mean, but just like, anyway, so he sends me over to this other pit to deal to Miss Ratchet. And when I say, Miss Ratchet from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's, that's One Flew Over the
100%,
Cuckoo's
yeah,
Nest.
yeah.
Like, I swear to God, this lady was doing things to dead bodies, dude. I really do believe that she was that. You looked at her and she was just
Cross the line.
evil. Yeah, did I? Sorry. That's what you got to go to.
all
That's
good.
why we have Patreon, dude. David
right.
Unfiltered. It's a whole nother experience. But yeah, she was literally Miss Ratchet, and I hesitated for a minute because I was like, holy crap, I came to the wrong casino. I need to go the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was already 10 feet in the door. They sent me to her. I'm sweating bullets, which I remember the walk. I remember the walk, thinking to myself, dude, I was 11 Bravo, right? I was a Dragon Gunner, then I was RTO. I mean, not too long removed from literally locked and loaded at four-door or in Panama. You know what I mean? Doing things that a man does. You know what I mean? And here I am about to piss my pants walking up to this lady.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just nervous as hell and just scared out of my mind. And I think the part of it that why I was scared is I had a 1-year-old at home. I had to make money. I had to. Yeah. I was getting. So I remember with the Pell Grant and everything, I was getting like $200 every 2 weeks or something like this, which is all the money we had. To support me, Lisa, and Devin. That was it. That was my fam at the time, and it wasn't a lot, dude. It wasn't enough.
No.
And
but there's fear in that, right? But
Yeah.
there's also this pressure. It's like you got to do it.
I got to pass. I got to get
you're
this
riding
job.
You're riding your freaking bike down there.
Yeah.
And
I
you
literally still have my bike. My bike didn't get
geez.
stolen for another couple of weeks.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you. Thank
But
God.
I love that part of the story though, because like today's world, we talked
Yeah.
about this earlier. Today, people would never ride a bike to work, would never do
That's
the
all
thing,
I had.
right?
We didn't have a bus. We had a bus.
I mean,
but
it's-
2-hour loop.
I mean, it's just like, yeah, and there's this, failing is not an option, but it's all you can think about.
No, I know.
Right? It's like, it's probably right in your face. Like, I'm going to totally fail. I'm going to suck. I got
Dude.
imposter syndrome, all the things you want to call it, but there's no option.
Because if I fail this one, I failed at 50% of the jobs available to me.
That's what I'm saying,
Based
yeah.
on this career path.
Yeah.
I'm in $3 grand. If I don't pass this one casino, literally I eliminate. And if I do fail, then why would I pass the other one? You know what I'm saying? So like, it's not like I can go to like 10 different jobs. There were no jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I already tried. Oh, well, that's not true. But anyways, there were other jobs at the time. I worked at a sandwich shop. I did everything I had to, quite honestly. Sure. Diapers were not cheap still. They weren't cheap. So I go there. Miss Ratchet sets me up on a table, and she really was, dude. She was totally. She was tall too. She was a big, tall lady, and which, by the way, she had this red hair, which ended up being, there was this woman later on in life that I interacted with, Connie, at the Rio, dude, another nemesis of mine, red hair. So she's sitting there, and so I start dealing blackjack, and back then you had a pitch. There were no shoe. It was a pitch game. You pitched and stuff like this. At some point, I hear someone, I don't remember if it was her or just someone, she says, put it in your pocket, put it in your pocket. All I hear is someone telling me, put it in your pocket. I'm dealing with the game, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, put it in my pocket? And so I was about to pitch a card. I have a card in my hand. And I put the card in my pocket, dude. So back in the day, we had a t-shirt pocket, and that's where you put all your tokes. It was disgusting, dude.
Seriously.
So you would show up week after week with this t-shirt, well, not t-shirt, but with the white shirt with this pocket, and it was always black.
Sure.
You could not be black because of all the silver, and the checks were disgusting, and they were just, you could not dry clean it or clean it out. You put your tokes, there were no toke box. You put all your tokes in your pocket of your shirt. So everybody's shirt pocket right here. You knew you were a dealer. You'd walk around with this dirty ass pocket all day long. It was crazy. No, you still had an apron, but you didn't put any money. You can't you couldn't use, all your tokes had to be up here so everyone could see them, very visible. You follow?
Yep.
And there was no toke box. They didn't have a toke, but they didn't allow for this other drop. Everything was literally through the pocket.
But your tokes were yours though.
No, you shared it. So once you got off of your table, you would put it into this box that was in the middle of the pit. You know what I mean? Or a big can in the middle of the pit, whatever. It used to be locked. And so here we were, so I take this card, and no one had ever taught me about tokes or tips. Tips, or we call them tokes.
Yeah.
So someone had bet for me, and I won it or didn't win, or was just there, or maybe a hand in, and I was supposed to take it and put it in my pocket. Instead, I put the card in my pocket. This woman starts screaming at me, dude. Miss Ratchet comes after me like you have no idea just who the hell taught you the deal. You'll never work in this business. It's a game over. And I'm like, fuck. I think I didn't pee myself, but I was really close to it.
Yeah, a little clench.
Can you imagine this woman literally wiped me out? Meanwhile, I mean, not too long ago, being shot at, no worries there. You could shoot at me all day, but just don't send Ratchet in to give me shit about cards. You know what I'm saying? Because then 100%. I lose it. I poop myself, whatever, So I'm walking off the game dejected. She sends me back to Sal, and while I'm walking back to Sal, there's this woman who yells, "Sal, I need a mucker." She says, "Sal, I need a mucker." And so right before Sal gets a hold of me, he looks at me. So I'm approaching Sal, who I know is going to tell me to go, take a hike.
Right.
And Sal says, "Hey kid, can you muck?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can muck." Because you learn how to muck like you can muck. I could teach you to muck in 10 seconds. Dude. Yeah, I know, seriously. You don't have to learn how to deal. It's just mucking.
Just scraping while.
Yeah, and just collecting and making piles. But there's a way you do it with your thumbs, and it makes it faster. So anyway, I ended up mucking this dime roulette game for 2 weeks. And so they put me on this thing to muck this table for 2 hours as an audition, unpaid, of course. So I worked in 2 hours, wondering when the hell I'm gonna get off. You know what I mean? Audition. You don't get paid for that stuff, but you can come back tomorrow. But the good thing is because that was day shift, I got hired onto day shift there. Most people got hired swing, graveyard.
Sure.
I got this juicy ass day shift, which is great because I had a kid and
you
know what I mean. So that's what I did. That's all I did is I mucked the dime game. If you want to see the lowest part of our population roll out on a daily basis,
dime roulette game.
Dime roulette game at the Golden Gate. Now, now can you imagine? So 2 weeks later, I get invited to a crap table, right? Sal brings me over because I told him I was just learning crafts. He knew I was just learning. He's like, "Sir," he's like, "Can you push a few birds?" I'm like, "I could push a few birds, dude. Not birds like the flying birds, birds like the quarter birds." And we had this guy. Are you ready for my next story? You want me to move into it? Or
born ready. Let's go.
Born ready?
Baby, yeah.
All right. So there's a guy named Red on the table. And it's one of the things that stands out. Like anyone who ever worked there, besides knowing Sal Bruno, of course, who is really a famous, for those of us that started the Gate back in the day, Sal Bruno really was quite the character. I will say, I won't say I love the man, but I got to really respect the man, especially given where he was, the kind of boss he was. He was very formative on me becoming a crap dealer, being a good crap dealer, paying attention, and you know what I'm saying? I attribute, as much as I know he was brash and sweated the money and talked some shit, he was still a great experience to me. And I feel like all of these experiences really added to either the crap dealer I become, staying in the business, finding my passion for dice and teaching it. But anyway, so we get up, I'm working third base on this crap table, and there's a guy, his name is Red, and he would buy in for $5. Okay, so I got to do this. So I already did this story, by the way, on Patreon, a little bit unfiltered. So just so you know, I got to filter it down a little bit because, I got to. So Red used to wear, they called him Red because he wore this red jacket every day, a suit jacket, a sport coat jacket. He wore this sport, and he would play on the game, and he would have his hands over the table. He would buy in for $5, maybe $10. But $5 gave you a stack of birds. And you ready for his system, John? This is right up your alley, buddy. You ready for his breakout system?
Yep.
So he would only invest 50 cents per shooter.
Okay.
50 cents. So he would put 50 cents in the cup. Mm-hmm. If he won the 50 cents, he would then put the 50 cents he won to the side. Mm-hmm. Let's say he got 11. Okay. So if he got any crap rolls, he was done with that shooter. He would wait to the next shooter. He was only in 50 cents a shooter. Let's say the next shooter came up, he invested 50 cents, he got 11. He would save the 50 cents, put it in his rack, and if that number went to a number, guess how many odds he had? 50 cents. He would throw in the 50 cents, he'd have 50 cents odds. By the way, 50 cents on the 50 cents on the 6 and 8 only pays you 50 cents. You follow? Yeah, on the 5 and 9, you get 75 cents. And on the 4 and 10, you get a whole dollar. So, oh my God. So let's say he would win. So let's say 50 cents went to the 5 and he would win. He put 50 cents on it, right? Now he gets paid $1.25, right? 75 cents plus 50 cents. He gets paid $1.25. He would now have $1.25.
No dimes. You're not getting paid the 60 cents on the 50.
No. This is a come bet with odds.
Okay, come bet.
Not a.
I'm thinking of the odds payment on that, right? Wouldn't that be $60 or 60 cents?
No. It's still on the 60. This is on the 5.
Okay.
So let's say it goes to the 5. Yeah. So it's 75. It's $1.25.
Yeah.
There. So $1.25 plus the $1. So now you have $2.25. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he would take that $2.25 if he happened to hit it, and he might play that like $2.25 outside, $2.25 depending on the point, that kind of thing. Because now, in order to make place bets, they had to be 75 cents. So given his rule of 50 cents in per shooter, he had to win he had to have 75 cents to start, and he wouldn't to start making place bets. You know what I mean? So he had to bet 6 bits a number, 75 cents a number. He would play, let's just say that $5 would last him a very, very, very long time. It was hard to get red off the table, but he would only be in $5 or $10 for the day. He was the grouchiest, grumpiest. He would just shit talking. He would constantly sit there and he would assault you at every level. If you didn't pay him fast enough, clean enough, if you paused, if you thought about, he would tell you how stupid you were, how slow you were. You know what I mean? And he was like hundreds of years old, dude. Hundreds and hundreds of years. He was one of the oldest players I have ever seen in my life. Now, he had a form of cancer, a skin cancer. He had skin cancer, and his skin was very thin, and it would fall off intermittently onto the table.
Oh my God.
And he would start bleeding. And so the first time this happened, he would literally start bleeding, okay? So the first time this happened, another reason, and people always ask me, is that why they call him Red? Well, you know what I mean? We try to keep it this way. So he starts bleeding on the table, and he doesn't care. He's there he's in $5, dude. As far as he's concerned, he owns the table, dude. The table owes his ass.
Right.
He could bleed all over it and not give a shit. And you couldn't say anything, hey, Red, could you not, because he would have his hands over the table.
Could you not?
You know what I mean? Like, could you not, like, have your hands over the table because you're bleeding down here onto the game, dude. And he would literally just drop some blood. So one day, the very first time this happens, he's bleeding on the table, and I call Sal. I'm like, Sal, we got blood on the table. Sal's bleeding on the table, dude. It's the first time I ever knew this was a thing. And Sal throws me paper towels, dude. I'm literally on the dice cam. He throws me. Like a roll of paper towels, bro. Not even like, we don't call anybody to clean it up. Nothing. Just throws me a roll of paper towels. And I'm a crap dealer, mind you. Everything's about game protection. Game protection. I'm supposed to be forward on the game. I can't put my hands in my pocket. You know what I mean? But here's Sal. You know, he's a pit manager, throwing me some paper towels, dude. And I'm looking at the paper towels, thinking, am I really supposed to like peel off the paper towel and like put it underneath this dude as he's bleeding on the game?
The most awkward thing I can picture. Yeah, fold it up, slide it underneath of his hand.
Why aren't we calling like the hospital? You know what I mean? Like, why aren't we calling anybody? Like because nowadays you realize if a drop of blood landed on a table, it would be closed. Hazmat. The guys with suits would come running.
Funny story.
Go.
I should not have said funny.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not funny story.
Not funny
Yikes.
story. We had a guy get stabbed to death.
Oh, funny story.
Seriously.
Hilarious.
No, but here's the story, right?
Yeah.
I was at the casino.
I was there. That's even funnier.
I was there. We went to dinner. We come back from dinner. We're like, table's too full. Let's just bug out.
Yeah.
Half hour later, guy gets throated.
Oh, well, hilarious.
Bleeds out at the craps table.
Oh, God.
They never closed the casino.
Oh, God.
They never closed it.
Wow. This happened recently?
Like a month ago.
Oh, my God.
Look it up. It's the
Are they getting
casino.
sued? Who owns them now?
It's an Indian reservation.
Oh, well, they're not getting sued. They can't lose.
Indian
reservations are protected.
Oh my God! But the guy bled out.
Well, he bled out and
they
died
cut the
on
carpet.
the table.
I was there the next day. They had cut the carpet.
They
out
cut
of the floor.
carpet and they put in like carpet squares.
The table was still open.
No way.
They closed that table down that night, and that was like that's an old Vegas story. Because now, if that happened in Vegas,
no, they would be done.
Yeah.
In Vegas,
helicopters coming in, SWAT guys coming in.
No, seriously, that's the thing. They close the table. They got to clean all the checks. It's literally like I know in anyway. So there's lots of stuff.
Remember, you're talking about the dirty pocket. I'm picturing COVID coming out here with the things and people literally washing every chip and making piles of clean. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was a job. That was like a mucker job. For you're brand new. Okay, you're cleaning chips today.
You know, and remember they used to give you your own clean dice. They used to put the dice. It was just crazy. All right, so
anyway,
So here's Red bleeding on the table. Not bleeding a lot. He's not bleeding out. It's just drops of blood.
But still.
But his skin would fall off. Like he would
my
put.
God.
So when he realized it, which he didn't, he was just. Did I tell you he was hundreds of years old, dude?
you
It's
did, you
literally
did.
one of the oldest people alive. He wouldn't really notice it. I was always so. I'll be honest with you. Like all the other dealers like hated this guy because he was really grumpy. He would talk shit constantly, and I just found it hilarious. And by the way, you know how grumpy I would be if my skin was falling off intermittently throughout
Maybe
the
a
day?
little,
I'd be just like miserable. Here
Yeah.
I am at the Golden Gate. You know, I'm losing my skin. I'm old. I might die at any second now. I might get the one, you know, a few craps rolls in and I could just, you know, it could all be over. You know, I'm here to just spend the rest of my days. I would be grumpy too. But that was so stunning. But that was the kind of clientele we have. You know what I mean? That was the other thing we had, by the way, the other story I always like to share is we had a shill. So what's most
they
amazing.
exist, what you're saying.
So they don't
exist.
exist anymore, but they did 100%. We would have this guy come in who, so a shill was someone who the casino hired to kind of drum up excitement for the game. So the one thing that Sal used to, every day the thing was like, he would just be like, you know, all the crap players are dying. Look at Red over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not going to be any people playing craps anymore. The guy's going to bleed out and be the last one. You know what I mean? Like, every now and then you'd have people interact with the game. But basically, the whole thing was craps became really popular during World War II. Right? So craps was brought over in the early 1900s, became popularized, believe it or not, in Louisiana. There was a guy in Louisiana who really fixed the odds and centered the table. It wasn't centered like it is with the don't pass and everything else. You just bet on numbers in the roll, but there weren't two ways. It wasn't incentivized to be really part of the casino environment until like 1910s or something like this, and then it started becoming more of a thing. But World War II was really when craps. A lot of people played it on ships and they played it on shore, and they just started playing street craps, became more popular, and of course the further we get away from World War II, the less of those people there are to kind of teach. Because a lot of even our age, like our fathers would have taught us how to play, right? Or there's a lot of people that come to casino clubs. Like my dad plays it, he follows the channel now. You know what I mean? This kind of thing. So like Sal's like all the crap players they're dying out. Look out, because we had a 25-cent game, and even that was like a high bar. The big players bought it for $20. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like or one stack of $25, stack of birds, stack of whites, or you know what I mean? Like $25. And so here was this guy, and we didn't have a lot of action. There were days where the shill would come, and the thing about the shill is the life as a shill kind of sucked, because all your options were limited. So they paid this guy $60 to show up, and he would play on the game with that money, and he was allowed to. But once he got a roll, he had to exit the roll. They didn't want him to win. In fact, if he ever shot a hot, if he ever stayed hot and started shooting numbers, he had to pass the dice.
Seriously.
Like literally, like he couldn't stand the hand.
But if his job is to generate the
excitement,
juice,
you would think that'd be the excitement, but no, we got to draw a line here. It's the casino still doesn't want. They want him to attract losers.
Yeah, in those days they're sweating money.
They're sweating like ridiculous. They're sweating money. So this shill, it was so cool. So one time I got to meet the shill outside, and because I was just so curious about how, they didn't actually, the money that they gave him, he had to play some of it. You know what I mean? Like he literally had to use that money.
Wow.
And it was just like how miserable can you be to have to play, to lose, to try to, and it's not like he was the most exciting personality, just some old dude with, you know what I mean, like who can, I don't know, could shoot dice, but it was crazy. But back in the day, the casinos had shills.
Sure.
Nowadays, you can't find space on a $50 table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all busy. It's crazy. All right, what else you got?
That's pretty fun.
Well,
what's fun, I was going to ask you like one of your craziest early. So the Red story, right? How long were you dealing when that was going on? Is that your very new? Or is that?
I mean, I was as a dealer. I'd only been there when he started bleeding on the table. Or when I started, my deal to him my first day, but the bleeding on the table didn't happen for a few weeks, dude. Torpedo Lady is my favorite story, dude.
Let's hear it. Torpedo Lady. Okay.
Can I share this story?
I'm picturing.
You know the story.
I'm picturing my grandmother right now.
Yeah, total 100%.
Yeah, okay.
If she was well endowed,
with the cones,
this is she was literally Torpedo Lady.
Okay.
We had this husband and wife that would come in, older husband and wife.
Yeah.
And they were she would wear this brassiere that just pushed everything out. And when I say they were out to here, they were literally out to here, dude. They were literally on some kind of support system.
My grandmother had to take doorways like on a 90-degree angle to get around them.
That's
100%,
this lady, dude. And she would wear, and at the ends would be very low cut with this frilly stuff. And she had to be in her 60s. She had to be in her 60s. Her husband with this big, tall dude. And they were they were the nicest people. But they would come to Vegas and just live it up in the costumes. Because this was still back when people sometimes dressed up to go to the casino.
Yeah.
Nowadays, no one dresses up to do anything.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
If you have a dress code, even some of the really nice restaurants, they'll say they have a dress code. Like the first time we went to Wing Lee, we went out and got these nice shirts, and we were like, "This is one of the." I've been to some nice restaurants, but Wing Lee was like Michelin starred, and the whole thing. And the next thing, and we called them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have a dress code. You got to dress up, yada yada yada." We get there, dude, people in shorts. Guy in a tuxedo shirt, the shirt where it's like, just screw you. I mean, I think he flipped us off when he went to sit. I mean, we were stunned because we were like all dressed up, looking great, and we were the only ones in the entire. And here's a Michelin-starred restaurant at the Wynn, dude. No one cared. Like you get your Hawaiian shirt on.
That was the thing, though. When my parents took me to my younger days, right? I told we saw Count Basie and all these, Ella Fitzgerald and all these people we would go see, right? You had to dress up.
Yeah.
We had casino clothes as kids that we brought with us on the weekends to go see stuff, right?
No,
it was like you had to dress up. Yeah. Jeez.
No, you can have your ass out here. No one cares anymore. You can dress as little as possible. So they would come out here on the weekends and they would play. They loved playing dice, and they were they would get drunk and loud and just they were just a lot of fun. They were very good. They were nice drunks, by the way. They were always there to have fun. So the husband would always we would talk. By the way, this is when I knew I was starting to attract a client base because they would play with me. They loved to be on my side, and I love them. By the way, they didn't tip a lot, they didn't win a lot, they didn't play a lot. They just loved it. She loved to shoot the dice, and she got real boisterous. So here comes so Torpedo Lady and her husband are there, and he's turned around the game looking the other way. So the crap table that I was on at this point was the one that was sort of facing out into what would have been facing towards the street. You see, and so she gets on the table, and he's facing the other way, looking back towards the pit. So the rest of the pit, like the other games. But he's talking to me, but turned backwards. You know what I mean? And I'm on third base again, and she's shooting the dice, and she is just it's late. It's late in the day. She's completely wasted, and she had this just low tucked frilly thing, and before long. As she's shooting the dice and she's yelling and she's winning and stuff like this, one of those torpedoes launches, dude. Literally goes airborne, dude. It's crazy. And what's funny is you could just see it just start to creep up. It was coming out, dude. And I have a feeling she had, but by the way, so here she is, she's shooting the dice, she's completely wasted, she has no idea Torpedo 1 has left the
She didn't even know it came out.
She had no idea it came out. But I'm watching this, and I'm the husband's turning around looking at me, and he's, and I'm like, I told the husband, I'm like, well, listen, your wife is exposed, and he's like, well, what do you mean, what's going on? So he's not turning around. Right. So by the way, the wife did not like the husband. One of the reasons he was turned around was because she felt unlucky when he put, because if he was watching the roll, she felt like there was too much pressure. You know what I mean? She liked it when he just turned around and didn't pay attention to her shooting. And he loved to comment, oh, you got to shoot it this way and that way. Even dice setters. Oh no, everybody dice setters all have their way of shooting, and they have that. You know what I mean? And he was a little bit of that. And so he's turned around, and I'm like, well, she's kind of exposed, because I don't know, listen, your wife's boob is on display. Like, how do you have that conversation? Like, everybody can see your wife's boobs. So finally he figures out what I'm talking about, and he's still turned around, and he's like, and he asked me, he's like, well, is she winning? And I'm like,
priorities, right?
You know what I mean? Those are priorities.
Awesome.
And I'm like, yeah, she's winning. You know what I mean?
That's
yeah,
great.
she's it's a good hand, dude. She's winning. She's like, shh. Yeah, it was great, dude. By the way, I always loved, because they were so sweet. No one ever told her the boob was out until they walked away, and then he pushed her out and he explained to her that her boob was out. But she took it very well. I don't even think she hesitated. She just slipped that tube right back into the, into the torpedo in the tube, and just done. I have a lot of those stories. You would think that there is a lot of those stories. Boobs on tables is really a thing. You know, short sticking girls back in the day is definitely a thing.
So so this is like this is why I want to be a dealer someday.
Yeah.
Right, because you don't want to have the stories.
You want to have torpedoes being launched out
all
there
day long.
all day long.
All day just catch.
Yeah.
But you want the stories, right? But the thing is, like, in your younger days of doing it, you're obviously nervous and and at some point you kind of feel like I got it.
Yeah.
Like that you just said it. Like, now you're getting people coming to play at your side.
Yeah.
Right. And how long? Because this is kind of for your students, I guess. Right. Like that. There's going to come a day when that's a thing.
Yeah.
For everybody, every dealer is going to come out and go, okay, now I have my feet under me.
Yep.
I got the game, and I'm actually, people are coming to play with me.
Yeah.
How long did that take? I guess
There's a couple milestones in dice. 6 months, like a year, sometimes 2 years, and then there's a 5-year mark. In Vegas, it used to be once you had 5 years under your belt, then strip options opened up. 2 years under the belt, like mid-tier properties, but 6 months of moving checks. So when I started in this business working a bird game, there was a lot more action on bird games. My very next job was the Gold Coast. So I dealt a lot at the Golden Gate, but nowhere close to the kind of action I would see at the Gold Coast. I mean, even today, you just bent over for 6 hours or 8 hours. You know, it's an 8-hour job, but you get 2 hours of breaks. And when they had a bird game, it was just a crazy bird game. It was legitimately it was a 6-bit bird game, so 75 cents a number. They didn't go to dollar games until later, but even the dollar games were dollar bird games, $8 across. You know what I mean? You could do $1.25, $1.50. So you were just bent over. If you dealt those bird games on those days, starting at I would start at sometimes 8 in the morning or 8 in the morning and then 12, and it's just like there was like an hour lull, and then you were just pounded for the whole day. Because it was all the locals, all the addicted the D-Gen taxi drivers and all that stuff, and it was just nonstop, and you'd be dealing 5 stacks of checks, and you got great. Your hands got strong.
That's what I'm going to say. Because you're smaller than chips, obviously, right? And you're mixing. You got checks and you got quarters and you got mixed everything, and probably like. That's got to make you so much better.
Yeah, because you have don't players, pass line players, you have place bet players, come bet players, you have lay bettors, you have hedgers, you have all these different dynamics playing out simultaneously. The interesting thing about, so as much as the gate, the Golden Gate, the action they had there was really low end. The tables were $200 max. In fact, you could do 1,600 across. That was the highest bet. Oh, here, before I leave the Golden Gate, I got to tell you one of the most amazing things that I saw happen at the gate. So we had this old guy. He was a friend of Red's, and they lived in like the same motel down the street. And this dude would buy in for probably $20 a day, $25 a day. He would buy in for a stack of dollars and $5 of birds, and he would play. And he knew Red. They lived, back in the day on Fremont Street. As you went down Fremont Street, there was all these motels and all the taxi cab drivers and DJ gamblers that serviced that whole Fremont. They all lived there, dude, because it was like weeklies and daily motels, and they made their. So, anyways, they lived in one of this. So this guy bellies up every single day, plays the same action. He's mostly playing like $3 inside, so 75 cents a number. So 75 cents on the 6 and 8, 77, $3. Completely invested, all in, and he would power press, and he played aggressively with that $3. But I don't know what he did for a living. He didn't play dice for a living, but so anyway, so this is a true story. You're gonna find it a little bit hard to believe, but it's actually a true story. So one day he starts on our game, and it's literally like noonish, and he buys in for $20-25. I don't remember exactly where, and he starting from this $3. He builds up he wins like $800 to $1,000 from $3 inside. He literally power presses it, catches a hand, and they're sweating the shit out of this money because you run $8,000, you get even $1,000 off of this bird game, and it's hard to get back. So you're just not having that kind of investment. So before we leave the shift, he leaves the table. And a lot of these gamblers, they would go to the Horseshoe. Right, so the Horseshoe was big back then because they didn't have any posted limits. They had limits, especially if you started at a low amount. But you can go and play the Horseshoe like to your heart's content. Really, you had to really test the waters, right? So the next day, I don't know exactly what he played or how he played, but my understanding is he went to the Horseshoe. He did really well at the Horseshoe. Guess how well he did? So back in the day, famously, there was the First Interstate Bank downtown. And that bank had like the famous vault. It's been converted now. It's like back when the internet became a thing and they started putting all the fiber optics and stuff. That became, kind of this. They have this massive walk-in vault that is just huge walk-in vault, and they have all these rack servers there now. It's like a data center, protected data center, and you're not supposed to. But anyway, it's the old FIB building. This guy had an FIB envelope, 40 grand.
From $3.
From his $25,
yeah.
$40,000 he had run up until the next day. Now here's the thing. So he's at our table with this $40,000 in this First and Saint Bank, and he had everybody. By the way, I knew dealers at the Horseshoe who confirmed that he went and played, and he had it up to 800 across. He'd be playing 8 and 1,600 across. He's firing away at the Golden Gate on day shift. I'm on this day. I'm on second base. He's at the end of second base, and he is 6'6". And that's the only reason I know why they have $200 limits. So $200 limits is $200. So 1,600 across is $200 on the outside, $300 on the 6 and 8. You follow? Because you have 3, 6, 10. What is that? Is that even right? I think so, because it's 800, 250. No, it's 250, 250, 250, 300, 300, 250, 250. That's 1,600 across. Yeah, I am right. Sometimes you got to think, because as a dice dealer, a lot of times you just look in colors.
Yeah,
you're over the, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So it's sometimes when I put the number. But anyways, he's firing away at $1,600 across, and I had to ask Sal, we can do 300 on the 6 and 8. He's like, yeah, of course, because that's the 250 equivalent. Like just 250 on the 5 pays 350, 300 on the 6 or 8 pays 350. This guy, who up until then, for months, his biggest bet was literally $3 on the inside, is playing $1,600 across, firing away at max. And they were talking about how he won all this money that overnight. He hadn't stopped playing, except he bought Red a pair of shoes and a TV. He bought literally Red. He bought Red a pair of shoes and TV, and he got himself a haircut. That was it. So there was a point where he took a break. He bought Red a pair of shoes, a TV, and he got a haircut from himself, and then he came back. And that was back, I believe the haircut he got was at the Golden Nugget. They used to have like a little haircut salon. Right. I'm thinking that's the Golden Nugget. They had and here he was firing away at 1,600. I had never dealt anything close to this, even remotely, at this place. But luckily, you've never seen a man lose so much money so fast. So before I had left, most of the money was gone. He had gone through almost all the money. And it was just the craziest thing I'd ever seen. So there was a point where he leaves the table and he has, I'm assuming, some money left. But you had never seen this little Italian man, Sal Bruno, so excited before. Because back in those days,
because he got back his AK from the day before.
Not just that, but they used to juice the bosses on the wins. So they have big drops, so they would exceed some kind of threshold. Some of these bosses got a little taste, you know what I'm saying? Which is one reason why they would sweat the money, because some of their bonuses, some of it was tied to their performance of the game. And here they got this 40 grand, and with the action they had at the gate, that was the win for the year, maybe. You know what I mean? That could have turned the whole year around for them. But man, I thought Sal was going to invite me out for cupcakes afterwards. I swear to God, never seen the man so happy in my life, dude. We almost broke out a cigar and celebrated a new kid or something.
$40K on a 25-cent game. That's a year's worth of take.
I mean, it's something. It's big. Whatever it was just
that's
massive.
Insane. Oh my God.
To this day, it's still stunning to me that he is one of the very first players that I encountered at that type of betting aggression, where there was no time where he gave a shit about he just wanted to be in action, the most action, and up until that point he could only afford the $3. He had to grind for time.
But if you got $3 out there and all you got is 25, that's a lot of action.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
relatively speaking.
If you got 40,000, 1,600, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like he was just literally all in, dude. It was just so crazy. I ran into a few of those people over, and that's really become the sort of the fundamental of my own strategy. Plus, I won 48. I won 48,000. I won 24,000 when I split it. But just playing that way. But that is one of the most amazing stories. I verified the story with crap dealers at the Horseshoe. So they think that he went some other property at some point, but all that money was, he literally went to FIB. He might have deposited some money at FIB and got this bank thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But he was literally a lot earlier.
With Ivy you're talking about, right?
Phil Ivey, you know what I mean? With Baccarat, so if you guys are familiar with that story. So, I mean, casinos famously just disconnect me. They don't, unless obviously if you're in the same MGM network, you might make a call and say, hey, I got this guy here, plays like this, whatever, we'll talk about it. But a lot of times casinos, back then, casinos didn't care where you got the money. You didn't have titles, you didn't have a lot of these, let's just say they played a lot of loose and fancy free. People would show up with envelopes, stuff like that. Now they question, hey, where'd you get it? Yeah. I one time when I was at the Rio, they sourced a guy who had a backpack full of cash, and they figured out like, why do you have all this money? He tried to buy in on a table, and I know that he turned out he was a waiter, bucket list. He collected all these tips to come out to Vegas to the backpack and cash and buy on a table. It was his bucket. But they found out that was a thing, that he wasn't just dealing drugs outside and just running inside with a 20. And there were those kinds of scenarios. You know what I mean? Like I dealt to a lot of drug dealers. They would come into the Gold Coast. No one cared. I'm not trying to throw anybody. It's not like, dude, you got a bucket full of money. And by the way, if you're buying in for $1,000 in $5 bills. You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Right? There's no how else do you come across $1,000 in $5 bills, dude? You know what I mean?
So that's interesting, because I think there was a case. I think Jeremy brought this up the other day. Was it the Resorts World? I think.
Yeah.
Where a bunch of people got.
Oh, 100%.
Like, where'd that money come from, kind of a thing.
And the president knew who this trader was. Knew who this person was, and basically gave him. I mean, he's losing his key license, for it. It's really insane. So it's a really small world in some circles, and the idea of gaming is very, when you get a key license and you're under the jurisdiction of gaming. I mean, you're married. You know what I mean? That's your wife, and you got rules. You know what I'm saying? So like it's weird, because if you're literally, you go through the application process to be a key licensee, to be like literally at that level, is so comprehensive. And it has to be, because it's literally to prevent so much foul play. And the casinos, by the way, are incentivized to have this kind of thing, because everybody should know, when you come to Vegas, I get asked a lot, is it rigged? It's not rigged. It's not rigged because the casinos don't want it to be rigged. And if there's ever any, because if anyone questions whether it's rigged, guess what? People aren't coming to play a rigged. You know what I mean? It's not rigged. The rigging is the math. The math is rigged. The math is rigged to the casino's player, but the casino is in it. Now, believe it or not, the people play very stupid stuff. You see what I mean? And predispose themselves to losing more money they should, because they don't play the way you're supposed to play. You follow? They don't understand how the money works on a table. Because on its own, you're not supposed to lose so much money if you play correctly. Look at craps. It's like a 1%, less than 1% on both sides. If you talk about the don't pass or playing flat bets and stuff like this, I mean, realistically, you're not supposed to lose all that much money if you just, you know what I mean? It's just people play stupid. They don't know how to play. They don't play basic strategy. They don't play how you need to play on a roulette game. They don't understand how the game works, which is why a lot of the information that you give people is so great, because you're helping them kind of deconstruct it and look at it from that perspective. You follow? And that's what we try to do as well. But yeah, casinos, this key license thing is important, and it protects not only the integrity of the game, the integrity of the business. You know what I'm saying? And it's important. Hey, listen. If you know that your friend is up to no good, and now you're letting him walk through your casino, well, even if you didn't put the money in his pocket or take it out of the table, but you're responsible.
Yeah, there's enablement there.
There's enablement. So you shouldn't work in this business. And he was a well-respected casino boss, and he did a lot of things for a lot of good things. And it's unfortunate that that's the thing that he's going to be remembered for. But don't fuck that up.
That's interesting, man. So let's wind all the way back. So I think this will probably lead you into your next podcast, right? You're taking us through like all of your.
I'm going to go all the casinos.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're at the Golden Gate.
I'm at the Golden Gate.
And interestingly enough, you say this because you were going to go to the El Cortez, which at the time was more structured. Right?
Yeah, that was supposedly.
Supposedly, right?
Yeah.
But as a vet, I know that that's a thing.
Yeah.
Because vets are used to structure, right?
Yeah.
So you end up going to the place that probably you shouldn't have gone, but look at what it did.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a great move. What takes you away from Golden Gate? When does the first job hop happen?
I worked at the Golden Gate longer than most people work at the Golden Gate. So I was actually there for about 6 months. A lot of people back then would work like a couple months, and then the turnover rate at these downtown properties, even now, is really high. Because
Really?
you
Even
start,
today?
yeah. I know a casino right now that has 80% turnover almost every month.
Get out.
Because you start there, get some experience, and right away you find out there's other jobs and you move on.
Yeah.
Not always, but there's
goodness.
some months that they,
Yeah.
you know, where it's just been crazy. Casinos. I always ask, are there a lot of dealer jobs? Yes. Can you get to some of these top casinos? Yes. We have a girl all the way at Caesar's Palace in a year. Went from literally, she's worked 4 jobs now. She was from
Wow.
Ukraine with no English. She's now working at Caesar's Palace. So she's literally the top tier.
That's amazing.
But anyways, so I'm at the Golden Gate. I'm there for 6 months, and quite honestly, I really enjoyed it. If I got more money, I would have stayed. I had really developed a fondness for some of the players. I don't know what it is about. I like being in the mix. You know, when I was homeless, and I didn't talk about it as I grew up, and for a long time, I didn't mind always being homeless. I did mind being dirty. I did mind being without food. I did mind being uncomfortable, but I found people back then. I'm not going to compare homeless now to back then. It was a different kind of thing. You know, I was always looking to move forward, but I find like people, it's more organic and genuine. I don't know. I found myself in a very free. You know, I enjoy being a dishwasher. You know what I mean? Like I found like these dirty sort of in the mix, kinds of jobs and kinds of situations, kind of enlightening for me, to be honest with you. So working at the gate was really there wasn't a lot of takeaway. I love these people. I love the kind of action. Yes, they didn't tip a lot. You didn't make a lot of money. That was really the issue. Is there was a point where there was just no money, and there was also I was starting to drink, and I had a friend of mine who got high a lot. And we would walk over to the Horseshoe, and we would get high in the Horseshoe break room, because that was a thing back then. Like literally, with my Golden Gate tie, my green, St. Patrick's good luck tie, because they had this little it was a bow tie I used to wear. Walk my ass with my badge, dude. Literally my badge. Just walk right into the Horseshoe with my buddy, and we would get high in the break room there. It's fantastic, but. I was in this rut. I was trying to move out of this. House that we were sharing with the grandmother, and trying to get our own place. And I just, you're making $5 a day in tips, you can't get there. You know what I mean? And so I started looking. So someone told me, hey, you can go work at the Gold Coast. And the Gold Coast is a big ass casino. The problem with the Gold Coast is it was off the bus route. So like. They had this one bus route in Vegas back then that would do like this 2-hour loop, which was that's why I still had the bike, and I would bike. But I got the bike stolen, couldn't afford to buy a new bike, and so I had to sit out there waiting for the bus 2 hours before my shift just to be part of it. And God forbid the bus broke down. You know what I mean? Then you were just screwed. Yeah. But there was the downtown bus station. So you get to the bus station right there, and it was very convenient. You just get off and you could access any of the casinos. Guess what there wasn't at the Gold Coast? There was no downtown bus. There weren't any buses, you follow? And if you got off the bus, you had to get off at like Sahara. You had to walk. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So it was tough to be walking in your black and whites and the whole thing. Sure. I bought some rollerblades. I started rollerblading.
No kidding.
From Craig and Rancho to Gold Coast the whole way. I would rollerblade. It would take me about an hour and a half.
Good Lord.
And I literally started rollerblading every day to and from work. I kid you not. I enjoyed it. People ask me why I stay. Listen, I'm 55 years old. I'm in pretty good shape. Yeah. Because I started this regimen way back then. I used to bike to work or a rollerblade to work in LA, the whole thing.
That's insane.
But I show up at the Gold Coast, and it's just for me, Gold Coast was relatively new. It was also open like 88, I believe, or maybe 87, 88. And this is literally the end of either 91, the very beginning of 92. I think it ended 91. And I remember it's such a big place compared to the Golden Gate. You've been to Golden Gate?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's really small, dude. Even now, even what they've done, it's really small. There's not a lot of space. But the Gold Coast, a big pit, big open thing. And I remember, holy crap, this is prime time. This is the big time. I have finally made it. I'm going to go in here. It was my hardest audition. I would say I didn't get juiced in, but I got referred, because that's what you did back then. Someone said, hey, you're a good dealer. Go see this dude. And you want me to go into that? Do we have time? How long have we been? We'll start the Gold Coast next week? All right. Yeah. What else you got? You got anything else?
I guess that was a good transition. So you have to re-audition.
I was what done?
You have to re-audition.
Oh, I got every time, dude. I've auditioned, I wouldn't say hundreds of times, but like over my career, I've auditioned dozens of, 30, 40 times easily. I auditioned at the Trop alone probably 6, 7 times.
No kidding.
Failed the audition every time. I didn't fail the audition. I passed the audition every single time, but the Guido over there flipped over his clipboard, which showed me that I got to hire all these people first, and I don't even know if they can deal. He was like, dude, you're one of the best crap dealers I've seen. Yep, it was all juiced. You couldn't get hired there. You couldn't get hired there. The DI, Flamingo, you had to go through a shade. I mean, it was just on and on and on.
So today, that's not the case, though, right?
No. The day, you know what? You know what's very interesting?
It's such a different world. It's not that long ago.
Yes.
But it's such a different world.
I had no juice. I could wait until we get through this series. So we'll do this again next week. I'll do the Gold Coast. But let me just tell you that I went through all the pitfalls of being juiced in. A lot of people, I know somebody. I'll send you down there. Next thing you know, they're just laughing at you. Now, if you're a good dealer, and you go through our school or you work through our program, I will open a door for you. And it's all about respect. I only send dealers I know can do the job. And so when you're getting a dealer from David, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it can still be rough because when you put in your application and you apply somewhere, right? You know, they have the bots that go through and they find anything wrong, they kick your application, and now you don't have a job or an audition or interview,
AI
right?
for the win, right?
Yeah, AI for the win. Well, yeah. I mean, we're going to all put AI right up our butt, dude. We're going to be puppets before long, trust me.
Yeah.
I'm all in, dude. I'll be a puppet. No worries. But with me, you come, you audition for me, I will help you. I will open the door for you. It should. I never thought, I hate the juice thing. It should be about, listen, I'm good at my job.
Yeah.
I deserve to have either a better job or have a door open for me. You know, you still got to go through the door. I'll open the door for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I went from juiceless to just a full glass, dude. Just a full glass of juice. All right, what do you think? Do we have anything out there?
Someone asked John when he's moving out to Vegas.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah, probably about a year.
A year?
Yeah, we just bought a place in Wenatchee. But people who follow me know that. And the plan is a good year-ish, and then we're going to buy something out here, and it'll be snowbird. I'm going to chase that sun.
Really?
20-something
sun,
years
dude.
in the freaking rain, I'm done. But yeah. Whether it's we have a place where we come out here every week for the weekends, or whether it's a week on, week off, don't know what we're going to do. But we're going to be definitely having a place here in about a year. That's the plan. I love it out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most people were just engaged. Oh, we got a super chat literally right there.
Hey.
Thomas Crown gave us a $10 super chat. Said nothing, just gave us a super chat. Thanks.
Thomas Crown, thank you, sir. All right, good stuff. I think we'll call it a day. So next week we're gonna do Gold Coast. That's a big story. Boy, do I got a lot of stories, dude. With Gold Coast, obviously I was there for a little while, and that's the next level. Alan Scana was GM there. I have, yeah, dude, I was there for a while. So, all right, good.
I can't wait to hear it.
Formative years. All right, there we go. We're gonna sign off. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Say the line.
And I'm off to Keynote to unwind.
There you go.
And we're up.
And the truth is, all right, good.
Sweet.
I don't have